right, Marlon Craft.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Masters of Ceremony, man.
Guy. Thanks for having me, bro.
Respect, man. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. How's everything been?
Everything's cool, man. I can't complain. I just got home from this South for the Winter tour just a few days ago. And I'm just getting my bearings again, but we just getting right to it, man.
Dope, man. Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, you know, the podcast is called Masters of Ceremony for numerous reasons, but I'm definitely just doing my best to bring up MCs who I truly, truly support and genuinely fuck with, man. So knew I had to get you up on here.
Word.
I just want to ask you, man, I want to begin with just bringing you back to your upbringing in Hell's Kitchen, New York, because I feel like there's so many artists and rappers from BK and from Harlem and from Queens, but maybe you could put me on game. I haven't heard of too many MCs coming out of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been cats that were like doing it locally, that, you know, people, even like actually when I first started, like my big homie Frosty had done like this EP with Harry Fraud way back in the day, and he had like French Montana on it before he blew up, and like Sean P and like a bunch of people. But like there wasn't really anybody that made like serious noise from the neighborhood for rap. And yeah, I always but it was a real like New York neighborhood. Yeah. Like I always just wanted respect when I was a ball player growing up. That was always like I just wanted people in my neighborhood to respect me for being nice at ball, and the older kids that I looked up to like respect me. And and we always kind of were loud and proud, because even though Hell's Kitchen is like super different now, it's like completely gentrified and just kind of like a rap, like a lot of New York. But we're still all there holding it down. But you know, when I grew up, like even though it was more of like the rough and tumble Hell's Kitchen of the past, it was still like the forgotten about neighborhood. Like every song was always like, you know, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Uptown, Harlem, you know. So we always kind of wore it on our chest wherever we went, like school, whatever. Like we repped it really hard. So that's why I'm always rep it. You know what I mean? Because that's where I'm from, made me who I am and shit.
How was it just like living in the midst of Manhattan, going to school, taking trains, like growing up in your household, and just what were the influences that were surrounding you? Like early, before you even got into emceeing, playing ball, whatever?
Well, so I grew up in Manhattan Plaza, and basically is like in the 70s, they built Manhattan Plaza to be like luxury homes. But the neighborhood was so bad and like super, you know, just dangerous and whatever, that no one that had money would move in. So the government took over the buildings, subsidized it, and made it government subsidized housing for primarily for people in the arts, and then for low income neighborhood people and stuff like that. So it's government housing. So you know, I grew up with all these different types of people. You know, first of all, mad artists were from Manhattan Plaza and from my building, but then also just, you know, like just people from all walks of life, because people were in there paying all different types of rent, and it was like Section 8. So I had friends that ended up becoming like super famous actors. I have friends that went to Ivy League schools. I have friends that were gangbanging in the streets or getting locked up or whatever. And we were all like on the same block, under the same roof, going through the same things. And there was older generations and whatever. So I just got exposed to all these perspectives in Hell's Kitchen. And that kind of shaped a lot of who I am. And then, of course, being around so many creative people and artists. My dad's a musician and shit. So.
Your mom worked in theater?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, it's clear to see how obviously your parents' influence had on you. Yeah. Just being open and creative. Creativity was obviously an aspect of the household early. Yeah. At what age, though, because, you know, your dad's a jazz musician, your mom works in theater, you're surrounded by all these different people in your building. At what point were you like totally becoming infatuated with hip hop? Because I know there was a clear point in my life where there was a turning moment in which I said, wow, this is something I want to look into a lot deeper into my life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, you know, the way I guess I explain it makes it sound like I grew up in like this artsy fartsy community, like with this, and it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the truth is, because, you know, my dad, you know, had gone back to school for physical therapy and done various jobs with that degree because he was traveling too much as a musician, and then my mom was also working as a graphic designer and other things. So like you know, I wasn't always just engulfed by art, and the culture of like Manhattan Plaza was more of just, it was just New York. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're all artists. Like it just was like everyone would be at the playground playing ball, getting into trouble, drinking, getting into fights, but then it would just be like so-and-so's mom happened to be like on that TV show or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it wasn't, so to me, like the way I came across hip hop was just a completely on some New York shit. Like I was at the park playing ball, little kid looking up to the bigger kids who were just New York street kids, and they just were listening to hip hop, and that was the language. And then so I got really deep into it just because I wanted to hear what they were listening to. And then when I got, you know, started playing ball in Harlem, the South Bronx and whatever, it was so clear, like, you know, I had my home friends who were a certain way. I had at school, I was like on the Upper West Side with all these like white kids from the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
And then I would go to Harlem and the South Bronx. And I was in all these different places, and like in New York, hip hop was the universal language that everybody spoke. So as someone who was like, you know, wanted to weave through all these worlds, I was of course just infatuated with it. And I remember just being like, bro, like literally like second, third grade on the yellow school bus with like a Walkman that also had the radio and listening to Hot 97 on my school bus home. You know what I mean? So it was young, like it was young. Early. And it really had nothing to do with my parents in that regard, because my pops was into jazz, which obviously is, you know, a father of hip hop, but he wasn't really into hip hop like that.
But they were supportive and cool with you listening to this music, I'm assuming.
Well, my mom used to make me get the edited version. So I'll never forget, like, yo, bro, I wanted the Eminem album, the Eminem show.
Yeah. Just listened to it yesterday. Crazy.
Yo, bro, that shit, and motherfuckers put me on. And I went to, my mom took me to Tower Records, and she's like, I'm going to listen to it and see if it's okay. Because I really wanted it. And so she literally made them take it out, the shit, let her listen to it. She listened to the first song on there, which is White America.
Yep.
And she was like, I don't like it. And then she kept going a little bit. And the funny part is, this is some classic my mom shit. The funny part is that she didn't feel like listening to the rest of the shit. But she was like, all right. So she was like, all right, look, I'm gonna get this for you. I'm getting the edited version, but you have to promise me that you don't listen to White America. And it's funny because actually White America is like some poignant commentary when you go back to it. That's huge.
Like, just while I was bumping it yesterday.
Yeah, but I think she just heard all the cursing and then like, I was like, what's crazy is for months I didn't listen to White America. I really held it down. I held it down for months and months and months. And then I was just like, fuck that shit, bro.
Let it bang, man. But I used to, my parents were cool with it. You know, they never like, I don't even think they really knew like when I was really listening to hip hop on LimeWire and Kazaa, downloading all this music. But there was a part of me when I was young that I'd have my CD player, and every time a curse would come up, I would just put the fader down real quick on the CD player and try to like censor it myself. But comes a point where you're just like, nah, I'm missing out on a big aspect of the music by doing that.
Yo,
you know?
Crazy. I would be like guessing which the curse words were. And actually the Eminem show had like, it was cool because it had like this little squiggly noise it made when for the curses. Yeah, it was like it wasn't just like empty. And you know, in retrospect, I don't know. I do think, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's like the curse is just a big part of it. It's kind of arbitrary in a sense, but also in a sense, it's like I was really young and I think she just wanted to give some like resistance.
Yes,
to like,
of course. Not just free reign.
Exactly.
How would she feel as a mother just to say, listen to...
Because it was bad. A lot of that shit too. That was like the height of gangster rap. And it was like...
Big time.
Yo, we got to remember... Like, think about loving your child that's like 8 years old and you didn't grow up on that music. A lot of the shit that's being said is
you can imagine how scary it is.
Crazy. It wasn't like the Talib records. I was like trying to listen to like G-Unit, like, you know.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Around this time when, you know, your mom's getting you the Eminem show and everything else, what albums and records were you going to like first?
It was the Eminem show was a big one, and then that same summer it was that, and it was Nellyville. Nelly was like mad big because Hot in Here was like the shit, and number one was like my song, and I was like 9 at this time or something like that, 8, and then after that it was kind of like 50 Cent era, like he just was dominating everything, the whole 50 Cent G Unit, and then of course Dipset was like religion, and I spent a lot of time in Harlem as like a preteen and teenager, so that shit was like, that was like a religion. I had like the fucking, if you went to my MySpace page when they first made MySpace, I had like the Dipset background. And how you picked the song? I had like the Get 'Em Daddy remix with the Dipset shit. And
wow. Yeah. Your homies at school must have been like, yo, Marlon's on some shit, man.
Well, the thing was like, cause I went to school with like the white kids.
Oh, prep your crowd.
And I won't even say white, but it was just like, the school that I went to was like an advanced program. So it was predominantly white kids from the Upper West Side, but it was also just a lot of kids who were like, came from probably more affluent backgrounds generally, because they just had greater access to resources and so were further ahead. So like, I was like the guy in that school that was like bringing all the shit from home that to them, like, nah, this is the cool shit. Like this is the whatever. So it's funny too, because I learned how to be like in school I was the man, but when I went uptown to play ball and like whatever, I was humbled. So it was like I got to understand what it's like to be like the leader and the follower a little bit. You know what I mean?
Dope. So at what point did you not only just be a lover of hip hop, but actually start penning things? Or were you always trying to write a little bit as you were just listening to music?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a venting thing. So I was always a really good writer. Like that was my thing. I would write like poems for family members on holidays, and I would like really good at writing in school. But hip hop was the cool shit, that the way that I wanted to relate to writing. So like I would just vent. Like at night I would just be like stressed and I would just write to vent, and I would try to write raps. And that was like middle school that started, and then in high school it was like me and my homie Ricky Motion, who's on my album personally, and my friend Blake. We would like get together and just make bullshit in GarageBand, but they were the only two people I would share it with because it was real personal. And also I went to Beacon for high school, and just in general in high school in New York, bro, everybody wants to try to rap. Like everybody. And then especially too, like at Beacon, it was like another situation where there was a lot of like, and shout out to everyone that was there, like there was the homies, but it was a lot of like Park Slope, Upper West Side white kids like trying to rap and trying to be all this and all that. And I was like, bro, y'all all just kind of like saying all the slang that I heard 2 years ago, because I was actually chilling uptown, and I was actually, so it's like, I don't want to be lumped in with this like trying to rap. Like y'all are trying to rap. And then also I was just competitive. I was like a ball player, and I was like, unless I'm nice or unless I'm like really trying to do this, I'm not trying to put it out. So I kept it pretty hidden. But when I got to college is when I got like, I was really depressed. My anxiety got the worst it's ever been. And that was the thing that I just kept turning to vent. And I realized like, I have to do this, you know what I mean?
Word. Yeah, I want you to continue painting that picture. That was actually one of the questions I had lined up for you, was when you go to college, which was out in New York, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went through something similar when my first year of college, going to Connecticut. But just being away from home, being away from your homies, and living in that university environment, how did that affect you at that time in your life?
Bro, like that shit. So, I mean, it was just hard for me because I never even went on like sleepovers as a kid. I would always like leave early in the night. Like that was part of kind of my anxiety, I guess.
Yeah.
And how it would manifest. And I just couldn't sleep other places. Even when I played AAU ball, we would go to these tournaments and I would like get 1 hour of sleep because I couldn't sleep all night. I'd be playing like 4 games in a day on 1 hour sleep. Like I was just like so stressed and anxious. And but I knew that like if I didn't leave for college, I was never going to leave, and I was going to be stuck with this thing. And so I knew I had to go do it. So I pushed myself and I went to American in DC. But when I got there, so it was really hard because I was dealing with that, just being away from home and just being whatever. But then also I was just really disenchanted with a lot of the people there. It's like a private white institution. It was just like, I realized just you know, a lot, and there was some great people there too, but the institution as a whole, I just wasn't fucking with it. I just wasn't fucking with a lot of the people there. They weren't even like cool. Like it was like all the toxic shit about like social life in New York without any of like the coolness.
Yeah, no flavor.
There's no flavor. Yeah. It's just like mad broy and like, and I was just like not really fucking with it. And as my anxiety got worse and worse, I was just starting to be like, man, how am I going to be like a real person? Because I'm having trouble just like sitting in class. Yeah. How am I going to like, how could I like sit at a job? Like, how can I like, you know, I just was really, you know, reached a point where it was bad. And I would just go to the music building at night. Like they would keep it open. And I would just, they had like these piano rooms, like practice rooms. So the walls were a little bit treated. And I would just go with my USB mic and my computer, bro. And I would just go in. Like, that was like till like 3 a.m. And that was the only thing that was like getting me through. And that's where I was like, my grandma, who was a director and taught directing, she always said about the arts, like, if you don't need it to breathe, don't do it. Do anything else. And that's when I really was like, I need this to breathe, man. Word. You know what I'm saying? So
that's real. So you started going heavy at that point.
Yeah.
For yourself, at least. Yeah, just honing in on your craft. Yeah. Wow. So my first exposure to you was maybe, we're in 2020 now. I think it was either 2015 or 2016.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah.
Time's flying.
Yeah, man. It feels crazy to even say that, bro. But it was from seeing one of your craft styles. I don't remember the first one I seen, but it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know about your craft style, speak on that a bit, but I want to just paint the picture. When I saw the first craft style on Facebook, I think I peeped it when it had like a couple 100,000 views. And I was like, damn, who is this kid? Yeah. How's he spitting like this? Like, without me actually knowing about him. I thought maybe you had a whole back catalog of music at that point. But I was like, damn, this shit really has went viral. And then from then on out, I was like so hyped when I would see you stay consistently dropping the craft styles. Like, it's not you just dropped one, stopped for a long time, dropped another one. It was like, there was a point in time when you were so consistent with them.
Once a month I was doing them.
That's crazy, man. And what was the first one you ever did?
The first one that I ever did,
it wasn't Survival of the Fittest, right? No, that was the one that got most of the praise.
One. Okay, yeah. So first of all, it's crazy to even hear you say, for those people that don't know the craft styles, that might not know, because that's like a whole career achievement for me. Because there was a point in time where it was like the craft styles were going viral everywhere, and that was everything. And it was like, I was trying to get people to understand that like, it's music. There's music behind all this. Like, I have music. So that was kind of awesome to even just hear you say that we've reached that reality. Yeah, not that I don't love the craft styles.
No doubt.
But, you know, the first one I ever did from that setting in my room with the thing was actually on, I didn't call it a craft style, but it was like a Drake Summer 16 freestyle. And I was just, and it was at a different angle, but people were just like, yo, and I was like, oh shit, people was fucking with that. And then I did another one on Hype, the Hype beat by Drake. And then I did the Team Backpack thing and I won it. And then after that, I was like, all right, let's go. And then the first one that I called it a craft style, and that was because people just kept dick sucking and being like, it's not a freestyle. Like, so I just got tired. I just got tired of that shit. The first one I called it a craft style was Mighty Healthy. I rapped on Mighty Healthy. And that shit
that may have been the first one I seen,
with the Dunder Mifflin shirt.
Yeah, crazy.
And that actually got like 1 million views on Facebook or something. Like, it really went. And I was like, whoa. And then after that was the Survival of the Fittest, and that's when it was like front page of World Star, Reddit. Like, that shit was really, really everywhere.
Yeah.
And they had that video on Facebook that was like 10 million. And it was like, and I never even could share it because like it was mad corny that the guy,
they put some titles on top.
The guy was like, right? It was like white kid. It was like white dude does whatever. And so I never shared that shit once. That shit got 10 million views, but I was like, that's corny. Like, you know, like, but yeah, bro, like those were the days, and I just had to be consistent because I was like, yo, this is working. This is getting me new fans. Shouts to Team Backpack and Armani. He would share all of them, and then I would get fans off that on Facebook. And I was like, man, I just got to be consistent because I didn't really have resources or understanding of how else to gain fans. Yeah. And that's what, like, it's a learning process. We just keep learning and like what works. But my thing is like, in the meantime, like I'm just gonna keep feeding it and keep working.
I think one of the best aspects of that whole series was just the backdrop of you recording in your room. As simple as it is, I feel like people really resonated with that. Like, oh, okay, this dude ain't going to, you know, some $1 million studio to record these. Like, he's actually bringing us into his home. Yeah. That's crazy.
And what's so ill is like now when I go to the shows and stuff, people will be like, always say to me like, yo, I've been rocking with you since the bedroom. Yeah. I've been rocking with you since the bedroom, bro. And I want to be like, I'm still in the bedroom, bro. Like, you know, but that, I think that was kind of the thing about that too, was the whole aesthetic of it. Yeah. Like, you know, here's this like me looking like me. And I was extra looking like me. Like even like, you know, I didn't even like these days. I mean, I still just be on my bummy shit, but you know, like people send me clothes now. Yeah. You know, I dress a little better now.
You were like, just woke up, let me spit.
I was like, my mom was giving me my haircuts. And I was like fucking, you know, my mom was cutting my hair and I was getting in front of the shit, like looking all scrawny and just doing the shit. So yeah, man, like that, those were the days. And I think that is the aesthetic of it. And I kind of actually leaned into that because I started to realize like, yo, I can't really lose because people either like the dumber I look, the more shocking it is when I'm embodying this shit. So I was like, I'm not even gonna try to like look cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna
that'd be whack regardless if you did try. You know what I mean?
Like that ass.
Yeah. So I mean, as all this shit started going viral and you started to see the actual numbers, you know, once you get into the millions of anything, I mean, such a clear indication that you got something. Obviously. You started working on some EPs, or you were around that time. He Looked Like Nothing. Those joints. What was working on?
I was on He Looked Like Nothing.
Okay, word. I think that was the first like music video I seen from you. Yeah. And just how was it around that time? Like, was it just a complete grind, or did you still have like some reservations about just the whole music thing?
I was like, I thought I could just. I thought I was just going to keep making craft styles until I just ran the world and I was going to be independent and just do everything. Like, you know, because like the stuff people were saying to me, like that, the type of fans that I have and the type of people that connect with the music, because the craft style was just the doorway in. And I was saying real shit in the craft styles, but
100%.
The music that I was making was always like this vulnerable shit that was connecting with people. So from the messages I was getting, from the amount of people that I controlled on Facebook at that time, because Facebook was still cracking back then. And like, I was just like, man, we're just going to keep going and keep building. And the industry kind of boxed me out, frankly, like during that time, because you remember, I don't know if you were at the Webster Hall show, but the first show I did at Webster Hall, you know, no one even knew who I really was like that. We did 300 tickets headlining at Webster Hall, bro. We did like even that Baby's All Right show like that you were at. Like we sold that shit out pre-sale.
Easy.
You know, like, and that was crazy. And I had, you know, numbers on things. We did the #1 for Tunnel's End on iTunes. It wasn't even an album. Yeah. You know, like I did all this stuff back then off the numbers of people that I had, but I didn't fit into the aesthetic of like,
we could sell this.
And people, or like, it was just confusing because I was rapping like a gangster rapper, the way I grew up listening to shit, looking like me. And people were just like, I don't know. You know how the industry is anyway. They need like 87 cosigns from like their cool people list before they do anything. Yeah. So I was just like, I was just a little confused at the time. Like I was just getting a little frustrated where I was kind of starting to be like, why am I watching people that can't sell 20 tickets in our own city? I was repping New York super hard. I was on that Take New York Back shit. And like, I was kind of being the change that I wanted to see, trying to do all the stuff that people were complaining about. I just think they didn't like the guy that was doing it, or they hadn't heard about it because no industry person had given it to them yet. Yeah. And the people knew what was up. But it was just weird because I was looking for the big opportunity to take everything to the next level because I wanted to get in the studio with musicians. I wanted to like improve the music, all that shit. And I was just kind of like, why is no one around? It was me and Kenny and our friend Dan trying to just freestyle our way into a career.
Yeah.
And so it was like definitely a positive time when I was way optimistic. I was like, oh, bro, we're gonna look what we're doing. Like, but what I realized was, like, what I kept realizing is that, man, like, they will really, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to, how should I say this? Because this is actually important. And I was arguing with someone on Twitter about this. If you don't stop going and your music and your art is great, you will not fail. But you have to not stop, because your music and your art being great and numbers don't guarantee you a seat at any table or a career. So I've done numbers compared to, like, when you look at where I was in my like career back then compared to what, like, the numbers we were doing were ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get snow in winter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's wild, man. Yeah, and I think a lot of what you were feeling at that time shows through in The Tunnel's End.
yeah.
Because when I first heard that project, I mean, I listened to some of the other EPs and stuff, and I was watching the videos, but that project was so thematically planned out, just with the skips and the concept behind it, and it sounded like the mixing and the production value had leveled up. There was some live instrumentation. Then you had the whole video rollout. I was like, okay, I can see that not only are you acting like you have something to prove, but you're actually going into overdrive when it comes to this music shit.
Yeah.
And that project for you, man, it's funny. It's like, I know you consider it a mixtape, and it's considered a mixtape, but a lot of people saw that at the time as like your debut.
They still do.
Album.
A lot of people still do. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's an accomplishment because they're just bigging it up. You know.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of artists, they get to that point of getting those numbers. You know, they're on Warstar, they're on, you know, they got the numbers on Instagram and Facebook, and they think that's it and they made it. But that's totally not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not stopping is key.
Well, also because you think, like, whatever numbers seemed big back then, but it's like then when you start to get into stuff and you realize, like, what numbers that make you money actually look like, you realize that you didn't have numbers to begin with. And I mean, like, also to be clear, man, like, I'm so grateful for all that shit because, you know, part of the concept behind this new EP that I'm coming out with is, you know, I had to get so good. Like, I'm glad we didn't get these opportunities or these looks that I thought that I wanted 3 years ago, because I wouldn't have been ready.
Word.
And I wouldn't have been delivering stuff to the biggest audience at the time when my music is at the highest level that I want it to be. And so, you know, when we finally get it, it's going to be how we intended it to be.
Yes.
Even though the journey is not at all how we intended originally. Because, you know, I had to get really, really good at everything. And I feel like, and I'm still just getting so much better at everything. So I like that the more eyes I get, the better I'm getting, and how that's kind of moving together, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think your journey has been just incredibly fascinating to watch, because you're such a uncanny, let's say, I don't know, character. People would say that, you know, although anyone who really knows hip hop knows that, I mean, it could be a dude with no arms spitting, you know, like, it could be anything, you know, anyone who has the passion and drive could live this life, you know. But one aspect of you that I've always appreciated, and something that I've just been seeing in New York, you know, me being kind of just in the midst of so many different circles, is this beautiful camaraderie that's been going on between different MCs of like our generation, you know, like just to see like you and Rad and Coda like all be killing it and be cool with each other and be supporting each other and liking each other's posts and sharing. Like for me growing up, that's like a different side of New York that I didn't really get to see. Like being such a fan of the culture. I was used to more, you know, beef or like how everyone's kind of been saying like the typical cliche recently of how like in New York back in the day, it was like Dipset was running it. Yeah. And before the G Unit was running it. And then, you know, this group was running it. It was a little bit more divided. So to be a part of this circle where everyone's killing it and showing love, I mean, that's so fire to me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I mean, I agree. Like it's awesome for me to watch too. Like that shit is just and you know, Team Backpack does not get enough credit. And Armani Cooper does not get enough credit.
I agree.
Because we all met through Team Backpack in those early days with Armani putting on those events and those things. That's how we all got exposed to each other. Oswin, Chris as well. I'd add to the names. Those guys, like, that's how we all got aware of each other, got cool, got the respect, and we had a place to generate a little bit of like fanship early. And you know, it's a shame, you know, kind of that it's not where it was then. Yeah. But it's a beautiful thing to see, man. Like, and I think New York has always been about like community and shit. You know, like Native Tongues Days, you know, like that's the other side that they don't like to, and the competitive nature is always there. Yes. Like we all, I think, you know, but it's just so, we all appreciate how hard it is, what we're trying to do. And in some ways it's easier today than ever to make a name for yourself doing music, but it's also harder, and it's in certain ways. Yeah. So the
market's flooded.
Yeah, it's flooded, bro. I just respect those guys, man. Like, you know, me and Coda got some stuff coming together.
Fire.
And I'm just a huge fan of his music. You know, Rad, obviously we see Rad all the time, and it's love, and I'm excited about all the things he's doing. And I talk to Oswin Benjamin all the time, man, and you know, Chris Rivers. Trying to think if there's anyone forgetting, but there's so many
yeah,
like,
it's a community, man.
Yeah, it's ill, bro. And it's awesome to do some of these events and like see people pop up to shows and to events, and it's dope, man. It's dope. And I think it's just dope.
Yeah, awesome. Word up, man. So as you transitioned into, you know, inking your deal that you're in now currently, and working on Funhouse Mirror, what you would consider your true debut album, correct? How was, like, did you feel a big amount of pressure on your shoulders at that point in your career? Or were you just like, I just got to show and prove?
I think, like both. I mean, I think I always feel pressure. I'm kind of good with pressure sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, the first song I made for Funhouse Mirror was Show Up. And that's because it was the morning. We had flown Arbus in from Sweden to work on the album. We were going to set up in this brownstone in Bed-Stuy. And in the morning, I was going to leave to do like the first day of real work on like, this is the album work that we're doing. And I was talking to my mom in the kitchen, and I was just like, fuck, like, what if I just can't come up with anything fire? Like, and she was like, that's what she said to me. She was like, you always show up. She's like, you know, when it's time, like, you always show up. And so I wrote that song. It was the first song. It's like, if I fuck it up, fuck it. If I fuck it up, fuck it. You know, like, when it's time to show up, I'm gonna show up. And that's how I kind of felt. So it was like, it was pressure, but it was excitement. I felt more liberated and free because I finally had a little bit of budget where I could get in a studio instead of my corner of my bedroom, and I could get the musicians in and be creative. So I was excited.
And I think your type of music works to your advantage, just the fact that you're so vulnerable and open. It's not like you got to posture and make up a bunch of hot shit just to impress people, you know? And I think that's what draws so many people into your music is like, yo, this dude is speaking about real shit, insecurities, you know, things that are slowing him down in life, vulnerability, you know, real issues. And what makes you feel, comfortable enough to be that open, especially in this time of just social media where people can just assassinate you online and comments and this and that? Like it's courageous to be that open with your fans, man.
Thank you. I don't know. Like because I am so comfortable with it, and I'm reminded sometimes that not everybody is that way.
Yeah, real talk.
And I have to like remember, but I think this is what I had to do. Like, this is the only way I'm sitting here with you, not to be dramatic, but it's like, that's what saved me, is putting this stuff down on paper, and then look to where it's got me. And I'm so proud of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consider myself an arrogant person, and I try to really humble myself all the time, but I take pride in that. Like, I have a lot of pride in that and who I've become, despite those things, but also because of those things.
Yes.
So I'm like, man, I'm not afraid to share that. And also because I know it's just more important than my ego. Like, people need to hear it.
Yeah.
I know it because the messages that I get. I know it because I remember how I felt listening to Kid Cudi when I was 16 and fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So I just know that it's just so much more important than my insecurity. And it's just bigger than that.
Yeah, that's real, man.
Yeah.
I mean, man, that's the perfect segue into, I want to talk about the Funk Flex freestyle, man.
Oh, word.
Because obviously that must have been such a monumental moment for your career. And,
that was crazy.
Let's sit on this for a bit, man. How did you actually prepare for that? If you're willing to go into it a bit, like, did you have a fair amount of time beforehand to really finesse that, or was it very sudden?
So I got into this thing a while ago where I was always feeling like I wasn't getting opportunities when I deserved them. And so I just flipped it, and I was like, I'm not going to complain. They're giving me time. So I'm going to use the time to ultra prepare when the opportunities come, which I know they will. If I keep working, I'm going to be ridiculously prepared.
Word.
So I wrote most of that like a year ago. Like, for real.
Yeah.
Like, I had that for a long time, most of that. And especially, like, I remember after Black Thought did the 10-minute freestyle, my first thought was like, I got to go 11, and I'm starting right now. And, that's why I kind of at the end gave him the homage, too, where I realized, like,
love that.
It don't got to be 11, though, because I'm me. It's not about just, like, it's about doing you the best you can and not trying to, outdo yourself by another man's standards. But
yeah, those are some of my favorite bars in that whole joint.
Thank you, man. Yeah. And but I was prepared. The other thing I'll tell you is that I had 2 more minutes that was supposed to was like a trap verse. And because, I seen some guys like switching up beats, and I wanted to be the best. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 different beats. And I'm going to go like that boom bap tempo to a trap tempo back to a boom bap tempo.
Yeah.
So I had like a 2-minute trap verse that was going to go in the middle of that. But Flex told me I could only pick 1 beat.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, yo, please let me get at least 2 so I could, because the tempo changed. And he was just like, no, you doing 1. So I was like, all right, I respect it. So as crazy as it was, long as it was, I had more.
Word.
So someone's going to get those bars.
Wow. And how was it like when you were in that seat? Like, were you actively like really nervous, or were you just like kind of just ready? Like, this is what I've been waiting for,
I'll keep it all the way real with you. I was mad nervous, but we were waiting so long and it was like 3 a.m. that by the time I got to the seat, I was too tired to really be nervous.
Yeah.
I was kind of too tired because we were there real early. Flex took a while to pull up, and then Arsenal shot his shit before me. So we were just there for like a long time. So when I sat down, I was kind of ready to go. And also like the energy that I'm more used to is a little bit of a, not that Flex wasn't showing me love before we went in there, but it was just like, we were waiting for a long time. It was this and that. But like, I'm used to that energy, like the little homie prove yourself energy.
Yeah.
Like, because that's been my whole life, even from basketball, being the only white kid pulling up everywhere and everyone's trying to press you, like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm used to that. I was more nervous on Sway when they were all like, yo, you the man, your album's incredible,
That's
you
crazy.
got it. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not used to this. This pressure, like, you know, like the don't let us down pressure is different than the than the who the fuck are you
so
pressure.
You didn't take it personal like some people did in the comments when Flex went straight into the anxiety shit after you just ripped it for 10 minutes.
well, so I'll tell you this. So here's the other thing. I actually haven't gotten to talk about this anywhere yet, but I thought he said, it was very fast. I didn't think the question was whack. I thought it was very fast. Like, I just finished it was like almost immediate. Like, I was very taken aback.
Within 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, like within like 3 seconds. I was like, So I was just taken aback because I had just been in the crazy zone and whatever. But the other piece of that puzzle was like, you know, I thought he said, I want to ask you about anxiety because you're talking to someone that can't entirely relate. I thought he said can.
Oh,
I swear to God, like when we were saying, I thought he said can. So I was sitting there being like, did Funk Flex just admit to me that he has anxiety on like, this is the illest shit that ever happened in life. I'm a legend. Like, I was like, you know what I'm saying? This is crazy. So my response, even though I was just really in a whirlwind because I just done this whole thing, I didn't know what I was saying. And I just was like, not as articulate as I would have liked to be. But I was like, I felt positive about it because I was like, yo, I just ripped that. And now he just admitted, like, we were having a moment. So later, you know, we went back and obviously I realized that he said he can't relate and he wanted to hear about it and whatever. I think like it is what it is. The people spoke.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, I think that Flex had me in that chair. He doesn't have a lot of people in that chair at my level. Mm-hmm. I think when he released his 10 upcoming artists to watch a week later, I was on that list with a bunch of other guys that you would never really see me on a list with.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, that the people spoke, bro. Like, I don't really, it doesn't really matter so much like what I think because everyone saw what I did. Mm-hmm. Everyone saw how it was handled. And they had their own opinions about it. But I will say that one of the coolest things about it was just like it was undeniably like, I don't want to say it, like it was really ill to just be able to do my thing.
Yes.
And have everyone else speak for me.
Yes.
Because
undeniable is the right word, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you spit your heart out for 10 minutes, didn't skip a beat. And I can't think of, you know, too many other people other than some homies and people in the industry I respect who could do the same.
Yeah,
you know?
Thank you.
So undeniable is right, man. Yeah. I mean,
and I think that what's so cool about that is that it's like, I don't have to be sitting here having a conversation with you being like, man, Flex didn't show me the love I deserve because the people spoke.
Yeah, clearly.
And all that matters to me is like, all I've ever wanted is a platform to be given like a fair assessment of the craft and the art because I put that shit against anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I work on. And so I feel that was one of the first times on one of the biggest platforms where straight up, because it wasn't just my fans. It was people like, I never heard of this dude, but he killed it, or he didn't get the love he deserved, or whatever. Yeah. So that to me is like the love.
That's all that matters, man.
That's all that matters.
At the end of the day, him putting you on that list a week later shows that he was obviously feeling your shit.
Yeah, and or that he has to respect it, right? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
No disrespect to him, because again, I appreciate the platform OD. But right, it's like that's what's so ill. And that's why I don't think people got to understand their power to curate what they want. That was a really micro example of that.
Yes.
But curate the real, bro. Let your voice be heard when you feel like something connects to you that's real, or when something's elite. Don't wait to see what everybody says, because people have to listen to you, the proverbial you. And that was so dope for me to see. Like, that meant a lot. I was like, I just sat back.
Yeah, that's real, man. The people spoke.
Yeah.
So for you to hit the road on tour with Brother Ali, Evidence, which is crazy because those are two of my favorite MCs of all time.
They would be. Yo, you're a Brother Ali Evidence type of motherfucker.
Yo, I'm a huge rhyme sayers
you are.
fan,
You are,
bro.
aren't you?
Big time, bro. I mean, they're like two of a big mix, but those two for real. So when I seen that, I was like, yo, smart move on whoever like really lined that, because I thought it fit, But how was it to hit tour with them and to interact with their fans, but also I'm sure you were bringing out fans of your own at those shows, right?
Yeah, I mean that was Dante Ross got us on that tour because he was cool with Evidence.
Word.
And the Rhyme Sayer Cats, and shout out to them. They did not have to take me, and they did, and it was love. They were gracious hosts the whole time. They were super cool, and it was an amazing experience. Those guys been touring for 20 plus years. Like, I have meeting fans there that were like, yo, this is like my 12th show, and those guys have built something incredible, and I just learned so much from being around them and about what longevity looks like and what's required. And they were just mad cool, and we just got cool with all of them over the course of the thing. And Evidence said he's gonna send me some beats the other day.
Oh man, that would be incredible, man.
Yeah.
Or it's crazy because I heard a podcast with Brother Ali, and he was saying how Rhyme Sayers has this tradition where almost every new tour they have, they try to find someone who's up and coming that they could bring in and actually like show them firsthand like how to form a business out of touring. And just drop gems. And Brother Ali said that Atmosphere did that for him, and it's just something that they try to do. So how just was it like being on the road with them, man?
It was ill. It was ill. And they've also they definitely do that. And they've also been burnt by some people doing that. And so for them to still not be jaded by that and bring somebody like me out was really ill. And it was amazing, bro. I mean, the type of fans they have, not all fans are, there's depth as well as breadth. Like and they have the depth on packed. And it was just amazing, man. I'm really grateful for them. We've been trying to find an opening tour slot. Dizzy took me 2 years ago. Yeah. And ever since then, I mean, no one really ever wants to take me on tour.
Well, you got to make your own way, man.
Got to make your own way. That's why I do the small headlining stuff, and I'm grateful. Again, it's like another thing that I'm grateful for. So, yeah.
That's what you did down south recently, right? South for the winter tour.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was just like you and the team setting that up for yourself.
Yeah.
And, little smaller scale shows. But before this podcast, you were telling me that you still got to sell out some shit.
Yeah.
You still got amazing feedback from the fans. How was this most recent tour?
It was epic, bro. It was we went in with low expectations because, we're really trying to build these hard tickets. Like that's the way for longevity in this game, and that's what I care about a lot. And when you break into a market, it's not always pretty, especially you've never been there, you're a headliner. People are a lot of times afraid to do those smaller shows, especially when you're trying to like portray something outwardly online that you're at a certain level, and then you're afraid to go do a show that's gonna be small. And the holidays was like the promotional period, so we didn't know how it was really gonna go.
Yeah.
But we sold out the first show in Charlotte. We sold out the last show in Austin. All the other shows did really well. The smaller shows we expected to be small. And even there, like the depth of like the meet and greets and the merch and everything. I mean, the fans are there. They're excited. They're passionate. I took my homie Bobby Fino with me, who's Arian Foster, formerly of the Houston Texans. And they were incredible, like his whole squad, man. We just kicked it with them, and he's such a cool, intelligent, thoughtful cat. So it was just a great time, man. It was
Dope,
fun.
man. Yeah, bro. And your fan base just seems to be so loyal and so dope, man. And I feel like you're an artist who really gives back to his fans. You know, you got the separate text number set up. You know, you're always interacting, and you got OUR.S, right, which is a beautiful community outreach institution.
Yep.
I mean, let's speak on that a bit, man. OUR.S just seems to be such a dope collective, and you guys are just doing great things, man. I came to the Coat Drive. I see you guys doing a bunch of different things. Speak to why, like, what even pushed you to want to create this community-centered group?
Yeah, man. I mean, so yeah, OUR.S, OUR.S. I think you just said it really well. I'm gonna steal that. What did you say? Community engagement institution?
Yeah, something along those lines.
We'll watch it back because that was ill. We've been like wrestling with the best way to
dope.
But yeah, look, I always watch artists always have a brand that's an extension of themselves, or that's a community that they create amongst their fans. But I feel like sometimes it's just mobilized around being cool. And I feel like we could mobilize that same coolness around doing shit that's important, that we care about, that, you know, moves the world forward just a little bit. And at least just lets people move with that type of mindset. Because that's the new shit. It's 2020. Like that shit is cool, bro. That's the new gangster. Like, that's you know, engaging with your community, thinking about how you can combat issues of inequality on a micro day-to-day level, whatever you can do. Like, that's the new gangster.
Yeah.
Like, for people that still don't actually have to live the old gangster, which is most people that try to front like they're still gangster.
That's real, man.
And you know, so I just feel like that's the type of shit we need to be on. And so I wanted to do that. So we started last year around the Do the Work single with Work Week, and we collaborated with 3 nonprofits in the mental health and education, and
you guys had some dope workshops and shit with the youth.
And these different spaces. Shouts to Sad Girls Club, shouts to Building Beats, shouts to NILAG, New York Legal Aid. But yeah, man, and a lot of it too is just like, you know, not to beat an old drum, but as a white dude in a black culture, I feel like the onus is on me, you know, to contribute back towards issues that affect us all, but also the black community,
of course,
and contribute and not just take. And so like that to me is maybe a little bit of a bigger priority than some, I feel like, as it should be.
Definitely, man. We all have a responsibility, especially after, you know, the loss of like Nipsey and just everyone in the game who has actually given us a blueprint to like, like it's not all about money and whips and all this other nonsense. Like you're in a position to help.
Right.
If you don't take advantage of that, then you already know what's going to happen. You know, the backlash from whatever force you want to believe in, or just the culture itself, is going to happen, you know? So it's a responsibility that you're engaging in, man.
Yeah, man. Know? And I feel like, you know, it's so, I was having this conversation with somebody. The new thing too is it's cool to like care about your homies. You know, it's like, I want to see all my homies eat. I want to see everybody win. I want us all to be billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's not how capitalism works, right? We can't all be billionaires. There's like, we can't even all really be millionaires. The inequality gap is like widening. Like, that's not how this thing works. And I understand, like, I appreciate the improvement of a sentiment that was dog eat dog, every man for himself, to being somewhere where it's now more like, nah, we want everybody to win. But now we got to start thinking a little more deeply about how everybody actually wins in the context that we exist in, because we're rooting for shit that rhetorically is an improvement. But to be honest, it's like we're really just kind of adhering to the same principles of the system that leaves us all broken in the first place. So I think with the OUR.S thing, the priority is understanding that I think in our generation we get so caught up in how the macro is so daunting. You know, what can I really fucking do? Like, I don't know. And it's even corny to like, every time I talk about OUR.S, you know, it's like, I want to be humble about it, downplay it, because it's like, you're not really doing shit, really. But you are. You are, man. And you have to live in that dichotomy. It's like, yo, we're not really doing nothing, but actually you're doing everything, because the macro seems so daunting, so people check out on the micro. Yeah. And in the end, that's what people that are trying to keep you down want.
Yeah, real talk, man. It's like, for me, I really believe you got to find your own way to contribute and to be, you know, quote unquote, real activist, you know, because for me, just in my path, protesting is not my way.
Yeah.
You know, me speaking person to person with people like I am on this podcast and like I have in the past, and me creating, you know, pieces of work, you know, writings, just in my own way. That's my way of impacting at least one person in one way, hopefully thousands, you know, eventually millions. But everyone needs to use their own gift to impact this earth in the best way they know how. And it's not always going to be holding a sign or doing something that is usually what you see, you know, nowadays amongst the youth, which I respect so much and I think is needed just as much. But there's no small feat in creating a community that you have, let's say, and giving back just to your people. You know?
No, I feel you, man. And it's something that, you know, I want to try to grow as I grow.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times we think about the model of like get rich and give back. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think about like, all right, how can I engage along the way and not wait till I'm rich?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many creatives who didn't have shit and gave everything to the culture, you know, just through their music, through their words, through their writings, through their paintings, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and I think the name of the game too, just with all this shit, and these are questions I ask myself, you know what I mean? But the real question is like, it's about sacrifice. What are you willing to give? I don't know. Like, I'm still wrestling with that personally. Like, I don't give that much really, you know what I mean? And I think like, you know, there's more that I could give. I try to leave an imprint on the world that I'm proud of. But I think people think about things in terms of, it's like in order for people that don't have to have, we have to give up. And even like this idea of like privilege, you know, that which is the new buzz thing. It's like, bruh, your awareness is the minimum participation. Like your awareness of your own privilege is like, congrats. You see the wall. Now, are you gonna like keep running into it or break it down? Like it doesn't.
What are you really gonna do with it?
Yeah. So it's like what that means is if you want things to get more even, you're gonna have to give some of that up. And what does that look like? And for everybody, it's like it might look like time. You know, it probably looks like time. Yeah. It looks like effort. It looks like comfort. It looks like, but these are the things that we got to start thinking about. Like, what are we willing to give up? Because when you talk about protests and stuff like that, I feel like, for a lot of people, I think are starting to feel that way. And I also think that it's one of those things where it's like a necessary, you know, presence and whatever. Yes. But in the time that we live in, a lot of the types of protests that people do actually give them more than they're giving the movement. Precisely. Because they get to feel like there are different forms of capital. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to feel really good about yourself. You get to post online where you were and what you did. And you have to be honest with yourself and have a candid conversation. Like, am I taking more from this experience than I'm giving under the guise of like that I'm protesting, moving things forward? Because the answer is almost always, not to say you can't feel good or enjoy giving back or contributing, but if you are constantly taking more of an experience than you're contributing, then you're not helping move things forward.
Who are you really doing it for at that point?
Yeah, you know?
That's real.
And how much are you really doing? So it's tough stuff to think about. And
they're real questions though, man. You know, and is you know, there's no shame in seeing somebody who helps in their own special way, you know, because also with social media, you see sometimes people are like, oh, why didn't so-and-so speak on this? Or why didn't so-and-so speak on that? You know, which certainly matters for certain figures to speak on certain things. But at the same time, everybody has their own way of contributing, man.
Yeah. And a lot of those times it's like, who would they have been doing that for, and what would that have done? Like it goes
right back to what we're saying.
We have to move past this thing of like we have to start looking at like what actually works and what are the changes that we hope to see and what, you know, it's just everything now is so rhetorical. It's all about like what somebody says or what somebody
so surface level.
No, bro. And then or it's like, it's like or like we demand an apology, and it's just like, what is that gonna like? I get it, but we have finite amount of time left, bro.
Especially a forced apology.
Yeah,
or pressured apology.
We have a finite amount of time and energy and resources to try to put a dent in figuring some of this shit out before the fucking world blows up.
Yeah, real talk.
And motherfuckers want to waste time on shit that is just
nonsensical.
It's not moving the needle either way. Like, what are we even talking about? You know, like, and I, you know, so it'll be interesting to see too, even with me, I think about this all the time, like as my profile rises and, you know, I say things that may ruffle feathers or gain the support of some people or if not of us. I mean, even like with gang shit,
exactly.
You know, like people, I received an overwhelmingly like positive response to that from people that I respected. But it also kicked up a lot of shit like behind closed doors that people didn't get to see. And it wasn't just hate from like people, like racist, crazy people that I knew, which would be the case, or I should say ignorant people. But, you know, like like there are people that had like a problem with me making that video, people who are intelligent people and are or consider themselves progressive or consider themselves liberal, whatever. And you know, some of those times those critiques were well-founded. Like they had some things to say. I obviously disagreed because I ultimately decided to make it, but you know, whatever. But a lot of those times those critiques are based around, it's like, yo, bro, like I felt like there's like misplaced anger at things that we get frustrated with versus things that are like actively toxic that we don't get frustrated with. And it's like, we're talking about, you know, I tried to wrestle with this thing and I put it out and it made people feel something either way, move the conversation forward, even if I was wrong. Even if I was wrong to do that, which I don't think that I was, but even if I was wrong to make that and put that out in that way, like I thought that that was the best way I knew as an artist to move that conversation forward.
Yes, for sure. And I think you did it in a very responsible way.
Thank you.
And it wasn't in a way that was making things worse whatsoever. You know, sometimes people put content out to stir shit up.
Right.
I don't think that was the intention there, and didn't come off that way. And it sparked a discussion, and I just thought it was well put together, man. Shout out to Nathan R. Smith, right?
Beast. I actually am meeting with him in like an hour.
Okay,
about the next video.
That's fire, man. He's one of the best people I've met in the industry so far.
And John Tashiro too. Him and John Tashiro.
John Tashiro's been killing it for you. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. 3 questions I've been asking the other guests, and you can run through these quickly if you like. Who are some creatives or just people in general right now that are inspiring you? 2 or 3.
Creatives.
Or even anyone you're just like going to right now for content. You know, it could be authors, MCs.
Yeah, I'm James Baldwin.
Dope.
Reading some Baldwin lately, and he's just like a goat, bro.
Ultimate respect.
Like one of the illest motherfuckers that ever lived. And I found out recently that my grandpa worked with him on original production of one of his plays.
Wow.
My grandma was telling me this shit and she was like, yeah, Jimmy, like we used to rock. I was like, what? Like, bro, that's the shit is in your blood more than you realize sometimes, bro.
Of course.
And then, who else? I mean, Jessie Reyes inspires me a lot, bro. Her live show.
I know you're ridiculous. A big fan, man.
Her live show is ridiculous, and it's not just because she's like, oh, she's bad and whatever.
Yeah.
She is the illest.
No,
like,
she's an inspiration.
She's so ill. Her live show. We've seen a lot of shows, but like fucking her show is the craziest.
Yeah. Dope.
And let me think. Let me. I know I'm forgetting somebody because there's definitely I don't know. I'll think of it later.
Yeah, all good, man. Okay, what is something that you do daily that you would consider like ceremonial? You know, something that you go to every day to kind of either restore some of your own spirit or just to give you some inspiration. Do you have like a daily activity you do?
I try to meditate every day for that purpose, but it does not work. I always skip it or miss it.
Well, a lot of people have a certain idea about meditation and they end up failing because of that. But even just the attempt itself is beneficial.
Yeah, I'll probably just say writing. Like every day I usually at least jot down a couple lines or a thought.
Dope.
That's me.
Sweet, man. All right. And lastly, what is an area of your life right now that you're trying to master?
I'm trying to master how to, trying to figure out how to love better, and like mostly with my friends, because I just feel like I can be like a really critical person, and a lot of times, and I just love some of my friends so much, and I want so much for them, and I see how much they're capable of. And I feel like a lot of times in our culture, like there's so much apathy, there's so much distraction, there's so much insecurity and fear. And like, I feel like sometimes I try to like balance that out.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to balance that out by constantly pointing out criticisms or pointing out or giving advice. And I'm learning, I think, that's not always helpful, that the best ways to teach or to empower people around you that you care about is by just like giving more unbiased love.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like be a lot better with that.
Wow. I couldn't agree more, man. I think we all can work on mastering how to better love those closest to us.
Yeah.
And while also being honest.
Yeah.
You know, that's real, man. Wow. Thank you, brother, for coming on to the podcast, bro. Much appreciated, man. Thank you for just all the support throughout the journey. You know,
bro, I love you. I love your shit, bro. Like for real, there's so few people like you in this shit, man, that just really just do this, everything that you do for the love and do it well. And still do it professionally.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
That's a rare combination, bro. So you always got my support, bro.
That's love, man. You're welcome back anytime, bro.
Oh yeah, you already.
All right, everyone. Peace.